All right, guys, you have done so good. So proud of everybody. 8 days into this, everybody's crushing it. Everybody seems to be liking it, getting some results. But I want to keep you motivated. And so each week, I want to try to add a little bit more to it. Not more work, but more results for you and more understanding. So, what we're looking at here today, you're starting to experience that there's this fine line between focus and meditation, right? Your awareness and where it's placed is a big part of meditation. It's definitely the foundation of meditation. Now, I know a lot, uh, kind of lightheartedly, but people are asking, joking about remote viewing and hand mudras and all these advanced things, mystical experiences. But you have to lay this foundation of being able to control your awareness and your focus in order to be able to go deeper with meditation, whether you're talking about scientifically or mystically. So, with this focus practice, if you're doing it on your breath, if you're doing it on your mantra, it doesn't matter, right? You're counting, your awareness moves away. You pull it back, you're counting, your awareness moves away. You pull it back, you're doing a mantra, your awareness moves away, you pull it back. And we're trying to build that muscle of pulling it back and keeping our awareness where we want it at one point. So I want you to kind of think of this. It's like a free diver who is learning to hold their breath, right? With practice and more experience, they get to hold their breath. And the longer they hold their breath, the deeper they can clearly go. So I know a little bit about free diving. I've watched some documentaries on it. I've gone scuba diving, not really free diving, but um, I think for certification, you have to be able to hold your breath like 2.5 or 3 minutes, something like that. It's very common in the free diver community to find people that hold their breath 5 minutes. Not unusual at all. There are a lot of good divers that can do 10 minutes plus, and I think the world record is 24 minutes and a half. It's over 24 minutes, I believe, last time that I checked. So there's different levels to this, right? Just like anything. So if we look at this, what I've got pulled up here, these brain waves, what you're going to see is first is beta. And beta is basically kind of what we walk around in. It's our normal alert consciousness awake. It might have a little bit more activity if we're in fight or flight or we're stressed, and just using our brain a lot. So that's where we are. And then we come in and we sit down to do our practice. Now, probably in 10 or 11 minutes that you're doing, you're shifting into alpha. So you're able to hold your breath for a minute or two in the pre-diver example. So you're shifting yourself and you're getting hopefully physically, mentally relaxed. You find yourself kind of a little bit drowsy when you come out of your meditation, like, man, I wish I could have stayed there, or now I kind of want to go lay down. I definitely don't want to fight or argue with anybody. I'm in a much more relaxed state. Now, if you keep pushing through and you get really good at this, you can move into Delta, which kind of feels like you're asleep. You'll lose track of time. You may be experiencing this if you're lucky already. So the other day, my timer, my volume was turned down on Insight app. And so I didn't hear the gong at 11 minutes. And I just, I didn't even think about it. Maybe I was in, we'll call it Delta. But I finally kind of came back to my senses and like, man, has this been 10 minutes? It felt like 10 minutes, but I just looked down at the timer and I was in 20 some minutes. But I lost that bodily awareness. And listen, I got bad knees, bad back. It's hard for me to hold those positions until I get into a state that I lose bodily awareness, sense of time, etc. You can then keep diving down into meditation into theta, which is really deep meditation. You can a lot of dreamy, mystical kind of visions can come in your head, and you can fall asleep. You can kind of nod off there if you go too far down. Now, gamma is the crown jewel of brain waves and meditation. So when you solve a problem, they've watched these brain waves for a millisecond, a half second, you get a gamma wave. So you've been struggling with this thing at work, and then you get that idea, right? That bright idea, and you go, oh, and you understand something, that elation. That elation was a half a second, a millisecond of the gamma wave taking off. So they've studied, and I'll put a link to a video I'll share with you guys. They've done a study of lifetime meditators, like they brought in from Nepal and different places, Buddhist monks. And we're talking 10,000 to 63,000 hours of lifetime meditation these guys have accumulated, but in the tens of thousands of hours they've meditated. These guys, and science had never seen this prior to this, walk around in gamma. They walk around in that state. So when you're talking about, I don't know if we maybe call that enlightenment, but to kind of change your reality and change your perception, we can't even understand experientially what it's like to walk around in gamma. But all these guys are walking around in gamma, and it's also what we might refer to as state or flow. There's some other words for it when you get into that state of just you lose sense of time and you're just flowing, you're doing something. You almost lose your identity and become one with what you're doing. So these guys walk around in that. And in the video I'll link to, he also says when we had them even add like, so they're walking in gamma, and they say sit and meditate about compassion or love or things. 700 and 800% increase in their gamma waves. This stuff blows my mind. I just can't imagine that. Well, I can't imagine it. I am imagining it. I am pursuing it. But it's just fascinating to me. So that's the idea. The longer we can train this focus, this awareness, and we control where it goes, back onto the mantra, back onto the breath, back onto the counting, whatever you've chosen, the longer we can stay in these states, and the deeper we're going to be able to dive through these different brain waves. And ultimately, for some of us, man, if we can get down into alpha, delta, even theta, that's life. That's great. We've lowered our blood pressure. We lowered our cortisol. We became more creative. We're relaxed. People notice a difference in us. Our health is better. We created some space between what happens outside of us and how we react to it. We're at that general view. We're at that armchair quarterback view that I talked about in week one. We're in that ringside seat at the boxing match view that I talked about in week one. So that may be the goal for most of us, right? And then some of us who have more sincere spiritual pursuits might be wanting to go and live in gamma, or even entrepreneurial. You want to go and live in that flow state for gamma. But if it's a potential and it can be had, I don't know why anybody would not want it, other than it takes a lot of damn work, right? Let's see if I get anything else that I kind of wrote down here that we can talk about. So this is what I wanted to give you. Kind of end with this. So how do we grow this focus? How do we grow controlling our awareness? We're not going to get very far in 10 minutes, 11 minutes a day, right? I said sit beyond it, but how far can we get? Well, Sonny, he's in here. He plays guitar. If he taught you to play guitar and then told you to practice 10 minutes a day, after so many, I mean, you're not going to get very far, right? Let's just say that 10 minutes a day is not a lot of practice. You want to be really good, you're going to have to put in hours a day. But 10 minutes a day, you can pick up a little hobby, and after a year, you might be able to, tune out a couple things, play a couple things. But 10 minutes a day is not a lot. Neither is it for anything, including focus. Most of us have never been trained on how to focus, on how to pay attention, on how to control our awareness, right? Everybody told you as a kid or as an employee, hey, pay attention, hey, focus. But none of us ever had a class, a formal class. I didn't, and I've got a master's degree, but nowhere from kindergarten to my graduate degree did anybody ever teach me how to focus or pay attention. That's what we're learning here. And in this day where we're addicted to these cell phones and all this information coming at us and distractions, the art of focus is huge. It is going to set you apart from every other person by millions of other people, because people don't know how to focus. And now it's even become worse because there's more and more distractions. I'm from the marketing world, and we used to know the data showed that you had to have 7 touches with a customer in order to make them familiar enough with your product to normally want to buy it, but they needed exposure 7 times. because of how many things are coming at us nowadays, uh, they've changed that number to it might be 21 times before they even recognize who you are and feel comfortable with you. Because we have so much coming at us, and these phones and all this, the sex and the advertisement, all these different things, it's just dopamine spike, dopamine spike, dopamine spike. And so you are just naturally now trained to be seeking the next dopamine spike. And if you have to sit alone for a few minutes with just your thoughts, most people, the body starts getting agitated like a drug addict. Where's my next dopamine spike? I got to look at the phone again. I got to look at this or that, or take something in, or turn the music up. Like, we got to have something that's outside stimulus. So you are training yourself to set your to be different than everybody else, to have a skill set that nobody else has. And I'm telling you, it'll pay huge dividends in business and relationships and everything that you do. So how do we train it, Scott? Shut up already. Geez, you're long-winded. How do we train it? Well, this is what I recommend. Now we add to our meditations. First of all, if you're comfortable with moving your number to 11 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes, don't bite off more than you can chew. Turn it up a little bit, though, just a little bit, if you're comfortable. If you're sitting there only concerned about making it to the 10-minute timer, 11-minute timer, and then when it's done, you feel, yes, I did it. You shift your focus. You're doing it wrong. I've lost you. You need to be concerned about how you feel, not getting to the 10 minutes. Because if you get to the 10 minutes just holding still, you developed a little bit of willpower, but you didn't control necessarily your focus or your awareness, and you didn't necessarily meditate. We want to make sure we are staying on target with our mantra, our count, our breath, and we are trying to get in a super relaxed feeling. We need to feel it. You should be feeling special things. You should be feeling great, almost even at times high when you come out of this. Just really relaxed. Seek the feeling. Don't seek the timer. If you're doing that and you need to turn the timer off, turn the timer off. And just, I'd rather you go till you feel you got into that great state, that you hit alpha, delta, theta. Make sure you're pursuing that. But so this is the other thing we can add. Find one task. Don't bite off more than you can chew. One task that you currently spend at least Monday through Friday 2 to 3 hours doing. For a lot of us, it's going to be talking to our significant other if we are married or live with them. Um, I know I talk to my wife 2 or 3 hours a day, from the time we get up in the morning to our conversations throughout the day. When she gets home from work or I get home from work, we usually sit down and have coffee together. We have dinner together. We watch a show at night normally together. And we have at least 2 or 3 hours of conversation per day. So if that is you, you want to shift your focus to when I am talking to my significant other. Don't tune out if you don't have a significant other. I'm getting to you. But if this is you, then during that time you're talking to them, you are focused 100% on them. Put your phone down, pause the TV show. No one else is talking. You're not thinking about, as soon as she finishes this, I need to run and add this to my do list, or I didn't go to the gym. None of that. He or she, you are focused intently, not thinking about what response you're going to say, but actively listening, focusing on them. And while they're telling you a story about their day at work, and your mind goes, oh, that reminds me, I didn't take the chicken out of the freezer for tomorrow when she mentioned lunch. No, no, no. Pull it back. Just like the mantra, just like the breath work, just like the counting, right? I stray away from the conversation. I pull it back. I pull my awareness back. I choose where my awareness goes. I control my awareness. I control my mind. They're talking, they're talking, they're talking. And then I remember, oh crap, I didn't call somebody else back or text it. No, no, no. I'm in this conversation. I pull it back. So now, outside of the meditation, in our real world practice, we're getting an additional 2 or 3 hours of of pulling it back, pulling the focus back, pulling the awareness back. If you don't have a significant other, are you on? I'm on Zoom calls at least 2 hours a day at work. I can make Zoom calls. I have to be 100% focused because a lot of time I got my phone in my hand, I'm scrolling. I've got another browser window open, looking at stuff, but I need to focus solely on the Zoom call. If I don't have Zoom calls, I can do driving. If I commute probably most days 2 hours. So I would hate to give up my podcast and my audiobooks. But if it's a time to train my brain and give me this incredible skill, then that's what I'll do. I will focus 100% on driving, which really at 70 miles per hour with this couple thousand-pound machine of metal that could kill us and other people, I can't believe how distracted I drive. But that would be something. I am totally committed to driving and focusing on that. And while I'm driving, I find my brain, and it does this, and you know it does this, because how many times have we driven past our exit or got to a place and been like, dang, I don't even remember driving here. Because our subconscious takes over and we can do driving without thinking now. But we're not going to do that. We're going to focus and think while we're driving. Um, that's one way. So your mind starts wandering off, you pull it back. Your mind starts wandering off, you pull it back. How many times do we go down rabbit holes on the internet? I hope this ain't how you would spend your 2 hours, but I go to look at something and then it says, I learned it in this book. And I'm like, I've never heard of that book. I open another browser window and now I'm looking for that book. And then I see the author's name. So I open another book and then I find out he did another book with somebody else. And then, so now, and then it's on another topic and I'm down this rabbit hole nowhere near where I started because we don't have control over our awareness. So when I sit down to do the research, I need to stay focused on the research and complete it through. When I sit down and have a conversation with somebody, I don't need to be bouncing all over the place and just kind of bringing random stuff up. See a conversation through to the end. Be active listening and pay attention to them and watch what happens when your significant other or your child, if you talk to your child 2 or 3 hours a day, or your coworkers, when you stop and you look at them and you actively listen and you make sure you keep pulling your attention back to them and you get yourself in this creative alpha state while talking to them, and you're able to maybe get better ideas, but nothing else, they feel heard. And people, what's the old saying? People don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. And people feel heard, and they know you were present with them. The present is a present, right? The present moment is a present. So you want to do that. You want to practice that. Don't do multiple people. Don't say I'm going to do it with my wife and my kids and my coworkers. Everybody I talk to is getting my full attention. Don't do it. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Week 2, pick one thing that you know you do 2 or 3 hours a day. That one person, that one thing only. Now, if it bleeds over and you happen to pay attention to people better or driving better, that's fine. You can do it. But the only one you're committing to is the one thing, the one person, or the one activity. That's the only thing we're committing to. So now we just took our practice from 10 or 11 minutes a day plus to 2-3 hours and 10 minutes a day without having to sit in lotus position with our hands up, breathing. We're working on the same skill set. So I hope that helps and blesses, gives you guys more understanding, and keep going. I'm so happy and excited to be part of this group and that we're doing this together. And I look forward to hearing so much more about some of the results you're getting and people saying stuff to you and how you're feeling and the creativity and just watching you blossom in this. So keep it up. Love you guys. Have a blessed day.